Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I am excited to interview today Debra Valentina. She has over 35 years of experience. She is a coach who specializes in easeful life transitions and nonfiction book development. She is a 4-time best-selling author, and she is a faculty lead for the Transformational Coaching School at the College of Holistic Healing. Her greatest joy is to empower female entrepreneurs and executives to fully express their gifts and talents. Welcome to the show today, Debra.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for asking me, Felina.
Absolutely. I know you have quite a journey, quite a career before you stepped into entrepreneurship. Let's go back. We're going to go all the way back. I know you're an East Coast girl, grew up in Massachusetts, and you did your bachelor's degree there as well. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I did a bachelor's of business administration at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and it was a very large school at the time. Way back when, it's much more now. There were 26,000 students, so quite a move to be in such a large community at the time. But I found the School of Management, which then made it a smaller community, and that was just more joyful being in a smaller community. But yes, I got my degree in management.
Fantastic. And why did you choose business? Was that something you were always interested in, or did you have any family influence to go that direction?
No, not family influence. What I had as influence is kind of I'll do a quick, what I think is pretty interesting story is when I was 3, I was in the Holyoke Hospital, which is where I was born, actually. I was in the pediatric unit for an infection. Literally, I remember thinking that because at the time they put 3-year-olds in cribs, and I remember being very indignant and thinking, well, I could do better than this. And so I knew I wanted to run hospitals, essentially, which I went on to do. But that's really the genesis of the business degree.
Wow, at age 3? Really? That's amazing to have that memory.
Yes. Yeah, very clear. A very clear memory, actually.
I love that. You're like, okay, this is not going to work. We got to fix this.
Exactly. And I went on to do it, but we'll talk about that when it's time.
Okay, sounds good. Awesome. Okay, so business degree, how did you, I mean, obviously you just mentioned you had this early memory of being in a hospital and thinking something's got to be better here. So was that when you were getting your degree, did you do internships in hospitals? Like, how did you then kind of bridge from school into hospital administration?
Well, actually, I did, and I haven't thought about this for a while, but when I was a junior in college, I talked a professor into giving me a full semester's worth of credits to go to the Metropolitan Hospital in New York City to be an intern there, actually, of all places, the mental health unit, which was kind of a cut my teeth on that. So in my early 20s, I was on call for a huge 1,000-bed hospital. So definitely got some firsthand frontline experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you then transitioned out of college and into your career, I know you were with Kaiser for about 7 years, big national healthcare system. I'm actually a client of Kaiser's. I think they do quite a good job, and are, from my perspective, fairly innovative when it comes to care. Tell us about your work at Kaiser in operations.
Yes. So I have to talk about my master's degree because it led into Kaiser. So I got a master's of public health in corporate healthcare management at Berkeley. And for Berkeley, in order to get your master's degree, you had to do an internship. So I did my internship at the Kaiser regional office in Northern California, and then was asked to stay on. And so I worked my way up from being a financial resident to being an assistant and associate administrator at a couple of facilities until I was asked. There was a emergency. Kaiser had bought a health plan back in the East, and they decided to replace the chief operating officer there. And so I got a call one night almost the middle of the night, from the president of Kaiser, asking if I would be interested in going to the East Coast. And of course, I said yes. It was a huge, huge opportunity. So that's what I did. I was the youngest chief operating officer in Kaiser at the time and since, actually.
Amazing. And so interesting, you came over to the West Coast to do
Yes.
your post grad, and then they snuck you back to the East Coast. What initially caused you to come out west? Was it the program, or was it something else?
No, it was definitely, thank you. It was definitely the program. And I didn't realize it was such an elite program, but I was among 12 people who got that corporate healthcare degree. And I was given the really enticing part, besides the weather, was that I got a full traineeship. So I got everything paid for plus a stipend to live on. And that is hard to hard to pass up.
Yes, absolutely. And I see you also spent some time at Stanford as well.
Yes, which was such an honor. So it was a 2-year international executive business program that Kaiser paid for, actually. So I am I'm still a Kaiser member and very loyal.
Exactly. You shall never leave. That's awesome. That's great. So I want to get to the point where, we're talking early 90s, you transitioned into, business ownership, being your own CEO. But before we get there, talk about your work at Travelers.
Yes. So after I left Kaiser, it was 7 years. I was vested, and I went and became the chief executive officer for Travelers Health Network, and in Pennsylvania. So I developed their HMO and their PPO products. And I was in my early 30s, so it was a really amazing opportunity, just like the COO opportunity was, to be a CEO at that young age. And especially, the truth is, especially being a woman in the healthcare C-suite.
Absolutely. I'm sure you have many, many war stories to tell.
I do, and in fact, just as an aside, I'm an author in my next book, which is my fifth book. I'm writing about those war stories. Yes, I'm quite excited. I have now that I'm older and wiser, I have I think a better perspective. So it will be a more upbeat than downbeat book.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Sounds good. I look forward to that. I want to get to the point here where we talk about the big decision to go out on your own. I'm sure you didn't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to quit my job and go do my own thing. What happened? What prompted the move out into entrepreneurship?
Ah, um, such a good question. So I there was always a boss, and there was always direction that I didn't always agree with in the corporate world. Very obviously for-profit driven, and I'm more of a person that looks at the good of the whole. And I was not always aligned with the decisions of the upper decision makers, is probably the easiest way to say it. And I guess the 3-year-old was coming out again, and I was saying, well, I can do better than this, and I need to go out on my own to do that. And so I transitioned to being two things: a consultant in healthcare operations, and I felt like I was influencing in a really good way from being outside the organizations than being inside the organizations for some, and being a consultant, and the organization's paying me lots of money for my viewpoint and my guidance and my advice, which most of the time they took. I felt like I was having more influence by being a consultant. And the second part I was doing is I was an executive coach for women in executive leaders. That's how I started my coaching business.
Fantastic. And talk about Hawaii. So you're
Oh,
you're now back
wow.
on the East Coast. How did you make your way out to Hawaii, and what was that adventure like?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I just have to say, I had many stops along the way. And when I was I was living here in Southern California in La Jolla, and decided to make good on my promise to myself. So when I was 17, my beloved grandmother and I went to Kauai and 3 other islands, but our favorite was Kauai. And I didn't want to leave, and literally had to be, dragged on the bus to go to the airport. That's how taken I was, because I'm very sensitive to energy, and it was beautiful, feminine, creative energy on Kauai. And so I made a promise to myself that I would go back and live there for a while when I took the opportunity. And so that's what I did. And it is very creative energy. And in addition to my coaching on island and via Zoom off island, I did book development. It was the start of my book development coaching. And so for memoirs, self-help books, and healing books, I started editing, and where I edited actually was sitting on a beautiful lawn chair on the Pacific. So that was that was a beautiful benefit.
Absolutely. So I want to dive into this because I know you do a lot of work with aspiring authors, supporting them through their vision and bringing it into reality. Obviously, sharing your own story as part of this process, but what really drove you to focus a niche of the business on helping other female authors?
I believe that everyone has a powerful story, like each and every one of us, and that it makes the world a better place by by having people tell their stories, so that people don't feel so alone, and people are able to learn through other people's learnings. And so that's one piece. The other is I started literally writing when I was in the third grade and was published in the seventh grade. And so it's always been a part of me in addition, in addition to all this healthcare stuff, hospitals better. I've always been a writer. And when I was in the corporate world, I did a lot of technical writing, and have, books around and articles around managed care and healthcare. But I really, really love particularly to have women tell their stories, because I'm all about, like, my theme throughout my life is about empowering women. And what better way than to tell their story?
Absolutely. It's beautiful. And talk about the name of the brand, Creativing.
Yes, and
Website's creativing.info. Talk about how you came up with such a creative name.
Well, thank you for asking that question. So I am highly intuitive, and so I actually teach intuitive guidance classes. And I get downloads, if you will. And one day, so just a little background, my business used to be Heart Ignited, which was also given to me. And then essentially my knowingness told me that it was time to retire the name and to come up with a new one, and that essentially it was working on it. And a couple days later, I heard Creativing. So it's a combination. It's creative living combined. And it's perfect for me because I have lived 11 different places as an adult on purpose, because I love adventure and I love to explore. And so I'm all about creative living. And it's got many, creativing has many different dimensions to it, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So 5 books, you're working on your 5th book. You've published 4 and working on your 5th. Did I get that right?
You did get that right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the
would,
first book was the Heart Ignited Living a Fully Expressed Life. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Talk about the other books and then talk about the book you're working on now.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I didn't know we were going to be able to get into that. After Heart Ignited, Living a Fully Expressed Life, in 2016, I self-published Heart Ignited, Sparking a Life of Joy and Meaning. And both of these books are really what they say. It's about how to live a joyful and fully expressed life, and it's a lot of my tools and tips on what I share with my clients. So there's little exercises in the books, and then in 2020, my memoir was published by a publisher, Beyond Chaos: Journey to Freedom and Joy, and it is my, just as the title says, it's going from a dysfunctional family, which many of us grew up in, some of us not, but many of us did, and to the learnings to be, and the unfoldment to be a thriving human being. And then my fourth book was co-authored. It's called Voices of the 21st Century: Conscious, Caring Women Who Make a Difference. And my chapter is a little teaser about being in the corporate world as a young woman in the healthcare world. So it's a little teaser to the fifth book. And my fifth book is really about my experience in the corporate world and the entrepreneurial world of being a woman leader, and it's really my take on the patriarchy and the water that we swim in, and some of the good things about it, like making me a stronger woman, and then some of the not so great things about it, and things that we as a world need to work on.
Wow. I'm excited to have that come out. When are you targeting the release of your fifth book?
Well, it keeps morphing, and I talked about my knowingness. My knowingness is saying be patient, because it's evolving. And as my other books, when it's ready, it flows. So just as an example, my memoir, I wrote the first draft, full draft, in a day and a half. And so I know that's going to happen with this book as well. So I would say in 2024.
Awesome. And what are some of the other things you're working on in your business, Debra, that you're excited about?
Well, I'm very excited about, I'll just mention two things. One is that I am developing a memoir writing course that I believe is very unique and kind of fast track and fun. And I can see myself teaching that for a very long time. The other thing that actually is an outgrowth of my experience in the corporate world and the entrepreneurial world, I facilitate small business executive teams to vision and plan for the next evolution of their business. And I've copyrighted it's called collaborative dreaming. So I'm a collaborative dreaming facilitator, and I've done several of them this year, and I feel like that's an expanding part of my business.
Oh, that's great. I love that. I'd love to learn more about that. If folks want to learn about that and your books and your coaching, what's the best way for them to find you, Debra?
Is creativing.info. And let me spell that. We talked about it, so I love that we talked about it. REATIVING. So creativing.info. And you can just get me through the contact page, and I'm very prompt in responding.
Awesome. I love that. Well, Deborah, thank you so much for spending time with me today. It was really lovely getting to know you better and learning more about your story.
Well, thank you so much. You are a fabulous interviewer, and I loved the questions. I didn't know what was coming next, so it was very exciting for me as well.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.